we're going to start talking about the Champions League, though. It returns to talkSPORT tonight as Man City travel to Copenhagen in the last 16, first leg. Live on talkSPORT, that one from 8 p.m. Former Republic of Ireland midfielder Andy Townsend and Super Ali McCoy joined the breakfast show this morning. The boys discussed whether the Champions League needs to change to make the competition more exciting.
A lot of fans might not find some of these matches or greet them enthusiastically. I still think the competition in the Champions League, when it gets to the last 8, I still think is the best football you can watch. I really do. So I look forward to it. I don't like all this change. Do you, Ali, you think about, would you like to shake it up? Would you like to go back to a knockout, for instance? Just everyone goes in the pot and the teams just come out.
The problem is, right, it's finance.
And it's broadcasting.
Yeah. What we're effectively saying now, it only gets interesting when it comes down to the teams with the most money getting involved with each other at the end of the tournament.
Now, you can't disagree with any of that. It's all about money nowadays, right? I mean, it always has. Well, not always, but for the last 25 years, since really the Premier League was born, it's always been about money. I look at the last 16 now. We were talking about this in our meeting. Are there games, apart from your side, you're an Arsenal fan, so you've got a game against Porto. I don't even think Man City fans would get excited about their game tonight against Copenhagen. I'm just looking at the draw, right? Are there any PSG against Real Sociedad? No, doesn't do it for me. Leipzig v Madrid, maybe. Lazio v Bayern Munich.
Napoli, Barca, on paper.
Napoli, yeah. There aren't any that jump off the page, but having said that, it's very rare in the last 16 of the Champions League you get ties like that. I always feel when you get to the last 8 is when it gets exciting as a competition.
Yeah, kind of. But I do think there's the state of maybe like football as a whole is not maybe what it once was. Because there was a time where you look at, and I know money is the root of everything, and some clubs now in Europe can't spend like maybe they used to. But there was a time where you look at Inter and AC, top draw, both of them. United were going strong. Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal. Then you had Barca, Real Madrid, Bayern. Like there was so many clubs across the globe that were so strong that every single season you might go, "Ooh, I don't know who's going to win it this year." Like I don't know who the favourites are because it was all.
Were there really that many?
There was that many. But
I know we like to think like the old days, like Milan and Lazio.
Both Milans were strong.
I know, but it's
Barca and Real Madrid were very strong.
I know, but it's very rare that you would get a winner outside of the usual mob, right?
But my point is there was a period where there was about 10 teams, maybe 8 to 10 teams, where they were all really strong and you'd go, oh my God, any one of them could win it. The last couple of years, it's a little bit like this season. The only ones that if I had to bet on someone to win the Champions League this season, I think we'd all go City, wouldn't we? Yeah. Other than City, you're trying to scratch your heads for who's going to be the next team that could maybe potentially go up against them. We're seeing Bayern struggling in their league. AC Milan, Inter Milan, they've struggled a bit. Obviously, PSG in a league on their own, really. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There's no really one out there. We've got Barcelona now who are struggling. Napoli having a bit of a wobble. I don't think there's anyone out there that all of a sudden, other than City, you go, they're the ones.
No, you're right. And that if there is a problem with this competition, and that's why they came up with the idea of the Super League, that's the reason.
Yeah.
And in the Super League, in theory, you get top clubs playing each other every single week. Mm-hmm. But wouldn't a lot of those top clubs be the clubs we're talking about in this Champions League? Wouldn't PSG be in it? Wouldn't Bayern Munich be in it? Wouldn't Inter be in it? Wouldn't...
Well, you say that, but look at it now. Let's be honest. Leipzig, okay, not bad. Copenhagen, Sociedad, PSV.
So would you? Okay, here's my question.
Even Lazio, I mean.
Would you rather have a competition, a weekly competition, a league format where you have the best clubs from around Europe, a Super League, play each other week in, week out? So every single week
you're getting big games.
You have big games.
I wouldn't mind that as long as there is
Jeopardy,
relegation. Then I've got no problem with that. I don't want it to be a closed off where no one can get in. I hate the thought of that.
No, of course that would never happen.
That's not what football is.
No.
But if there is a kind of relegation and there is like jeopardy on it, where just because you're a big club, if you don't perform, you're out of it, I've got no problem with that.
But would you rather see that in the Champions League? I don't really have a problem with the format. I don't have a problem with the clubs. You know, I've never got too excited about last 16 matches. Have you?
I don't mind the last 16, and I don't mind a bit of jeopardy. But
yeah.
My point is, people want to change it because of maybe the quality is not what it once was, and history would suggest that when you look at some of the teams. But they're always going to change something. Whatever's going to generate the most money. Because I didn't mind. Do you remember when it was COVID, right? And they did that whole knock. Everyone was in the bubble.
That was fantastic.
I didn't mind that. Some people hated it. I did not mind that one bit.
Yeah.
That whole knockout type format. I liked it.
But this is effectively knockout, right? It's 2 legs. I know that Man City fans would think the tie can be won in the first leg.
But that was 1 leg, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I liked it. I really liked it.
Would you like to go? I mean, listen, we heard the boys talking about that on breakfast. It won't go back to that because you're getting double the amount of money.
Of course.
When you've got double the amount of games.
Neutral venues or one venue, I get it. I get it worked then because of the fans, but now obviously.
Yeah,
fans
but then
can
if
be
you
there.
had that, right? If you had, just say tonight's was a one-off game, Copenhagen against Man City, and then a silly decision goes against Man City, they have I don't know, Haaland gets sent off or Kevin De Bruyne gets sent off or whatever, and then Copenhagen win the tie and go through 1-0, doesn't that devalue the competition? Doesn't it make it a weaker brand in the Champions League? And then your argument is doubled by saying, well, it gets to the last 8, and because it's knockout, you've got some of the big heads have gone.
Yeah, but I guess maybe teams would have to approach it a little bit differently. When you've got one leg, like over 2 legs, you go, it doesn't really matter. You have to change anyway because of the away goal rule. But 2 legs, you go, all right, we can be not cautious, but we can be a little bit different in the first leg. If there's a one-off, you have to be different.
Okay,
different.
because we're going to take calls on it, right? I don't have a problem with the Champions League in the format. I don't mind the fact when you get down to the last 16, there are teams in it which you think they shouldn't really go any further in this competition. I don't mind that because I feel it slowly bubbles away and builds up to the crescendo, which is the Champions League final. Even the last 4, I think, is very exciting in the competition. I wouldn't change anything. Would you change anything?
No, I'm quite happy with the
You're
way it is.
fine with it?
I'm happy with the way it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
but there are people out there that perhaps look at games like this and think, I'm not going to watch Copenhagen Man City.
I don't think, though. I think there's people out there that don't like watching City anyway, which I find bizarre.
See, I shouldn't, but I do.
I can't. I love watching City. The way
Because
they
I like watching the
good football.
very best of the best
Exactly,
perform.
but there are people out there, and we'll probably get a couple that call in now. Can't stand watching City. They say,
Right, well,
they
there you
say
go.
it's
That's a
boring.
great question. If you love football, right? We all love football. If you love football, but you just can't stand watching Man City, I'd like to know why. I'm guessing lots of Man United fans will phone up.
Yeah.
But I'm a big football fan, and I can't stand Man City, right?
Yeah.
And I will watch them play. Although, having said that, I wouldn't watch Liverpool. I wouldn't watch Liverpool. I
Why?
can't, because I just can't stand Liverpool.
So you hate Liverpool worse than City?
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Because they're a bigger powerhouse, right? It's always a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Liverpool have got, 6 Champions Leagues? Horrific. Horrific. So the thought of me watching Liverpool play really well, I'll just get annoyed. I'll get wound up. So I can't watch them. But Man City, at the moment, that would change. I can. Lots to talk about. One number to dial. Are you a fan of the Champions League, the format currently? Can you watch Man City, or maybe you can't stand them? And if you could change something in the Champions League, what would it be? Lots to talk about. One number to dial. Pick up the phone and get involved. Would love to hear from you this afternoon. But let's speak to Josh. We're talking about the Champions League. Are you happy with it? Last 16 at the moment. There aren't too many ties that jump off the page with excitement, but I think the competition doesn't really start or get going to the last 8. What do you make of it? Josh is an Everton fan. Hello, Josh.
All right, boys, how's it going?
Well, great. How are you?
Yes, I haven't had much experience with this competition as an Evertonian. However, like you're asking the question, if we could change things, what would we change?
Yeah.
So, as far as I see it, a fifth of the Premier League clubs currently go into the European Cup. It's meant to be prestigious. It's meant to be like you are the best of your league. So I would go back to the top team goes into the European Cup, and it's an open draw right from the start. So like Nottingham Forest, when they got into it and drew Liverpool, the defending champions, they had to play each other. So the two ball, it's the same as the FA Cup, isn't it? The balls come out the hat and it's like you're drawing against each other. Just get on with it and play the game.
But Josh, are you saying you only have one team from each country?
Yeah, but of course that won't stack up with this whole idea that UEFA's got about creating brands instead of football teams.
But also,
trying to ring-fence the best teams.
But I do think the competition's better with teams like Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Arsenal, and so on in it, don't you?
Well, if we're going off my parameter, though, if they want to be in it, they've got to be top of the table. They have to earn their place to be in it, or even win the European Cup.
Yeah.
So, say City last year, if they hadn't won the Prem and won the Champions League, they'd have been in it anyway.
Yeah.
So, as far as I see it, I mean, I definitely take the point about the commercialisation and the fact that, like this saturation of football in this new millennium, to give another Robbie Williams reference. As far as I see it, like the Champions League has come undone.
I see. You've done it again. You're just throwing him in now, aren't you?
Because of the changes that have been made through it over the years. But this is modern football. This is what we're up against. £100 million footballers and all the rest of it. But I'm quite old school in my thoughts. That's the thing. Bring back the open draw.
Okay, Josh, thank you for your call. We'll never forget that call. Let's take one more call. We've got time. We have Dan joins us now. Hello, Dan.
Hey guys, how you going?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Off you go.
So my thing is, I actually think that the Champions League isn't any more stale than it was years ago. I think the biggest difference in the Champions League is it's no longer on terrestrial television. I was reading a stat on the Telegraph that the viewership's gone down by a third since it moved off of ITV many years ago. And I think it's just really taken the gloss off it. You know, there's no Clive Tilsley and Andy Townsend on commentary
Andy
anymore.
Townsend was the king. Still is the king.
He still does co-coms, Andy T.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. But I just thought those two on ITV on a Tuesday, Wednesday night in the winter was brilliant, and it's a shame it's not there anymore.
I do think the terrestrial is a big one because I used to love it on ITV. And Andy Townsend, I've said it to Andy before, he's the voice of the Champions League, Townsend. When he used to do the ITV commentary, it just doesn't feel the same, do you know what I mean, when he's not doing it? But I miss the FA Cup being FA Cup's still on terrestrial, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Champions League, ITV, that was the one. I don't know why they took it. I know it's money again, but
it's all money, isn't it?
All money.
Sadly.
talkSPORT Drive. Super opinionated sporting debate. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.